Now 18 days straight of no new cases. An incredible achievement by that state. New South Wales have also continued on their run, today marking 10 consecutive days of no new cases. This bodes well for our controlled and hard interstate border and is a positive sign for our country. This morning, South Australia recorded 4 new local cases linked to their outbreak. The small number is obviously a positive sign. However, it is early days. We know that we need to monitor the situation for a number of days, usually about 2 weeks, to get a clear picture on the full impact of the outbreak. Full credit to the South Australian Government and Premier Stephen Marshall for their efforts to try to manage the outbreak and the decision to reimpose restrictions in their state. It would have been a difficult decision, but I admire the fact they made that decision. We know that this is the only way you can manage the outbreak and try to limit the spread of the virus. Here in WA, we are wishing our friends across the Nullarbor all the very best during what must be an extremely difficult period. I know the changes we made on Sunday night and yesterday were sudden and came as a surprise to many people. I understand it can be very frustrating for a number of people, so I appreciate their understanding. The flow of arrivals from South Australia has now slowed down. Yesterday we had a total of 480 people come in from South Australia via road and air. We had 2 flights from Adelaide come in last night, a Qantas and a Virgin flight. The number of passengers on those flights was lower than expected, with a total of 185 arriving at Perth Airport. WA Police managed their arrival and exercised their discretion on entry to Perth Airport, given the new hard border for South Australia had only come into effect 90 minutes earlier. All of these arrivals are in self-quarantine for 14 days and all have been tested for COVID-19, and we are currently awaiting those results. They are also required to be tested on day 11 before they come out of quarantine. On our road border at Eucla, so far this morning, we have had 71 people processed through. Each of them have been directed to self-quarantine and to get a test within 48 hours. The new exemption rules will come into force at the Eucla checkpoint at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. We are monitoring the situation in South Australia and other states and territories very closely. We will only act on health advice, just like we have throughout this global pandemic. Today, 2 flights are scheduled to arrive from Adelaide at Perth Airport. Each arrival will need to meet a strict exemption category to be able to enter WA and go into self-quarantine for 14 days. This is an evolving situation and therefore we must take an extra cautious approach. All the way along, Western Australia has been cautious and safe. We won't change our strategy, we won't take that risk. We want to make sure, we want to keep Western Australia in the position we are in as one of the safest places in the entire world. Thank you again to each and every Western Australian for their patience and support during this difficult time. Roger and I can now take some questions. Yeah, funny that. The South Australian Government has done the right thing. They have done the right thing. We know that measures like restricting movement and borders work. They work. And the South Australian Government made the right decision in the circumstances. I think what we all learnt from Victoria is that these measures work, and it's far better to eliminate the virus using these measures rather than use the American technique, which is to let it rip. And obviously, what the South Australian Premier has done will save lives. It will ensure that over time they can eliminate the virus and the entire country will be better off.